I've been married for almost 13 years. When my husband married me, I was a mess. I was a mess. I did not have the ability to trust or to communicate or to love him. I was a little girl in a woman's body, and I was so wounded and bruised and battered and marred that he had to be real patient with me for a lot of years. And it was very interesting. I went to a conference called the Father's Heart Conference, go figure, about 2 years ago. And when I was at that conference, you know, there are times in your walk with the Lord that you remember something very specific happening that changed your walk with the Lord. Firstly, probably when you became a believer, and then along the way, because if you're growing in the Lord, which we're supposed to do, you change. You see differences. When you look at yourself today, you should look a little different. We all tend to look a little different than we used to, but you look different on the inside than you did 5 years ago or 10 years ago. We're not supposed to be just like our children. You know, if my daughter looked and acted the same today as she acted when she was 3, we'd have some problems. But she doesn't. She's almost 11 now, and she's as tall as I am, and that means that she's healthy because she's growing and she's changing. And as believers, we're supposed to constantly be taken from glory to glory to glory to glory, growing and changing and becoming more and more of who God created and intended us to be. This is going to bother me, so I'm going to pick it up. So, I've had to do a lot of changing. I went to the Father's Heart Conference, and at this conference, this man was speaking about his marriage, and he said, with his wife, they came to a place within their marriage where they realized they only kind of had a shadow of true intimacy. They were living together, and they were coexisting, and they were maintaining the normal, everyday lifestyle of typical American married couples, but there was no true intimacy in their marriage. Pretty much what they were doing is they were just avoiding all real issues. They weren't talking about heart issues. They were getting by, and they didn't have that heart relationship. God is a relationship of the heart. He called David a man after his own heart. God cares about the heart. He desires a heart relationship with us. And what I realized at that conference was not only did I not have that intimate relationship with my husband, I didn't have it with my God. Because when you've been so hurt and so wounded, it's easier not to be intimate. It's easier not to be intimate with your husband. It's easier not to be intimate with your friends, and it's certainly easier not to be intimate with God because, you know, when you get intimate with God, He gets intimate with you, and sometimes He shows you things that aren't real pretty. But the good thing is when God shows you things, heart things, life-changing, life-giving things, it's for the purpose of making you better and making you whole and making you more the person that He's called you to be. And He told me at that conference, and I think I cried more than I've ever cried in my whole life at one time. But I was in a room full of perfect strangers, so it was okay because I was never going to see them again. So I came home, and I sat at the kitchen table, and my husband said, "So, how was it?" Wow. He was not expecting what he got. And I started weeping, and I said, "I haven't been honest with you because I'm not real with you because honestly I'm afraid of how you're going to react. And I'm afraid that you're not really going to love me if I share with you exactly who I am." Now, we've been married for 11 years. 11 years. Do you know you can live with somebody for 11 years and not be who you really are out of fear of being rejected? Now, if my husband was going to leave me, he would have left me like after the first year of marriage because I was crazy. I mean, that's the bottom line. I didn't mean to be, but I had been so wounded and abused that I was truly, there's just not even words. However, I I wept and I repented and I said, I'm sorry. I've not been real with you. Because there have been hard things that I should have shared with you that I didn't because it was easier not to. It was easier not to because I didn't know how you were going to respond. My husband's a good man. He knew better than to ever raise a hand to me, to ever call me ugly names, because I told him before we ever started, I've been abused my whole life, and if I ever think that you think about abusing me, there are no second chances in this marriage. I mean, right or wrong, I'm just being real up front and letting you know that it was very clear that I wasn't putting up with it anymore. I was finally free, and I was going to be free. And God knew. God knew. Because my husband was born to be my husband. There's just no question. Nobody else could have done it. So I came up from the conference. I'm going to get through this story. And I said, I've not been honest with you because I've been afraid. I've been afraid that if you really knew what I thought and what I felt, that you'd reject me. And he pretty much said, honey, if I was going to reject you, I would have rejected you a long time ago. But that was the beginning of a change in our marriage. That was the beginning. That was a new day because we decided to start being honest with each other. Whether it was hard, or whether it was ugly, or whether it was intense fellowship causing, and we made a decision to be real with one another. And it's the best decision we ever made. Has it been hard? Oh yeah. Because honesty hurts sometimes. It's not fun to hear when your spouse isn't happy with something you're doing or something you've said. It's not fun because sometimes the truth hurts. But the word is truth. And the word says that it's like a mirror, and it shines, and it shows us what we really look like. When we look at the word and we compare it to our lives, we see what our lives really look like. And God is so good and so loving and so faithful that as soon as we shine the truth of the word in our lives and we see the ugly places, he comes in and he says, that's okay, baby. We can fix that. That's nothing. Just do this. Just give me your heart and let me mold it and form it. Just let me form you into my image. Come spend time with me. Let me whisper in your ear sweet things and tell you how great I think you are. That's how God handles our ugliness. And yet, a lot of people spend their whole lives having a shadow of intimacy with the creators of their souls. Because they're afraid that when they go to God and they say, this is who I really am, that he's not really going to want them, that he's not going to want to have anything to do with them. They're afraid that if they say, search my heart and know me, that when he does that, they're not going to like what they find. Or that he's not going to like what he finds. But we all know that he already knows all the ugly things in our hearts. And he loves us anyways. And all he desires is us to come before him and say, know me. Search me, have me, all of me, God, and hold nothing back from him. And that's what he can work with. And